somebody who's reselling HubSpot or offering to do HubSpot, a retainer, for another business. You may also use HubSpot to generate visits, leads, and customers for your own business, but if you are both a customer and a partner, please bucket yourself into the partner group. If you're a customer, that means you are doing your inbound marketing for your company to attract visitors, convert those visitors into leads, close those leads into customers, and delight those customers. So I'd love for all 23 of us to share in the chat pane, are we a customer or are we a partner? Keeping in mind, if you're both a customer and a partner, please bucket yourself into the partner group. All right. Rachel, Cassie, Morgan, Kristen, Carrie, Amy, Eileen. All right, looks like all the customers beat all the partners in the chat pane, but certainly it's not a race. Todd, Brad, and Zach are partners as well. Christine's a partner. All right, wonderful. So now that we've done that, I'd like all the customers to hold tight here just for about 20 seconds. The first question we have for the partners, and that is, do you know who your channel consultant is? The person who's responsible for helping you get onboarded, for helping you in an ongoing way to close business. All right, Todd does, Brad does. If you want to share that name, I'd love to see that. Todd's working with Aiden. Brad's working with Max Taylor. Okay, now if you're saying to yourself, well, I don't know, that's okay. I'm going to share my email address here in the chat pane. Shoot me an email. Let me know your Hub ID, and I'd be more than happy to make sure that I can connect you with your primary point of contact. Now, for all the customers here, things are a little bit different for you. You actually have, over the lifetime here at HubSpot, 2 primary points of contact. Your first, if you're a new customer. So this is just for people here today who said they were a new customer. If you're an existing customer, ignore this question. For everybody who's new, the question is, do you know who your implementation specialist is? Just to make sure we're all on the same page of what our implementation specialist is. They're responsible for the technical setup of HubSpot, working with you to get fully set up on all the HubSpot tools, and then they're also going to help you launch your first campaign. So I'd love for us all to share in the chat pane the name of your implementation specialist if you're a new customer. If you don't know, let me know in the chat pane. That's why we're going through this exercise. Nothing to be ashamed of. But again, do you know who your implementation consultant is? That is, after the sales process, after your company's purchased HubSpot, you receive an implementation consultant. All right, looks like a few of us do. Again, I'd love to see all 20 or so customers. Okay, so Cameron's working. Definitely a good use case there. Cameron's working with a partner. So if you're working with a partner, then you won't have an implementation specialist. So if you've signed on to HubSpot with a partner, they're working with you, they're training you, they're coaching you, they're doing your services for you or with you, then you won't have an implementation consultant. But if you purchase directly through HubSpot, that would be the equivalent to the partner that you're working with, as Cameron pointed out. Josh is working with Alexis, Nick's working with MK, Rachel's not new, Carrie doesn't know, Lindsay's working with Sarah Randall, wonderful, David's working with a partner. Brett says he doesn't know, but his partner most likely does. Perfect. Again, for those of you who aren't sure, shoot me over an email, clodolce@hubspot.com, with your Hub ID and say, hey, Chris, I'd love to know who my implementation consultant is. I am a customer. I am not working with or did not buy through a partner. Please let me know, and I'll connect you with your implementation specialist. Now, the last part of this is for our customers as well, and this is for all customers who aren't working directly with a partner, and that is, do you know who your customer success manager is? After your implementation, you will begin working with your customer success manager. The customer success manager is focused on your long-term success, and I'm already seeing some great names come in here, which is awesome. They're going to focus, again, every 6 to 8 weeks, having a call with you, making sure everything's up to date. You'll see that throughout the rest of today's class, we're going to always be tying back to this primary point of contact, whose goal is to help you be as successful as possible. So the more information we can provide that primary point of contact, the more success, hopefully, or the more resources we can provide you to be successful. And of course, they work with all of your contract and billing updates as well. I'm going to share out here again one last time my email address. I see a Jeff Love in here, Alex Whitney, so Valerie, you must be an e-commerce customer. Mariana looks like Samantha. Masabni, awesome. Alex, Mike Clark, I see. Peter Raymond. Kathy's working with Keaton. So hopefully we're squaring this all away. We are going to move on to the next step. But again, if you're unclear, you don't know who you should be reaching out to, and you're a customer, shoot me an email. We'll get that all squared away and make sure you have the teammates here on this side ready to help and assist you. Okay, we're right on time. Chat pane's looking good. Let's now talk about developing smart marketing goals. And I have a question for all 26 of us here today, so I'd love to see that chat pane popping with answers, keeping in mind that there is no one right answer to this question. So share your personal thoughts on it. And that is, why should we bother setting goals in the first place? Why set goals? Todd says you can't hit what you don't aim for. Absolutely, Kathy, so we can track whether or not what we're doing is working. Great point. Eileen says to know if you're growing, to be able to monitor progress, to show the value to your company. Absolutely. Amy says, welcome, Amy, to make sure that they're attainable and measurable. Bellman, welcome as well. Measure progress. Have something to aim for. Absolutely. And a quote I love from a previous class, somebody said, well, nobody wakes up successful one day. Without goals, you're not sure if you're going to be successful, and most likely you won't be. We need to know where we're going, as a few of you mentioned. Nick says, to show the ROI and measure progress. Absolutely. So setting goals, nothing new, not a novel idea. Setting SMART goals is also not a new or novel idea. If you Google SMART goal setting, you'll see tons and tons of resources around SMART goal setting. What we're going to do is talk about setting up 3 specific SMART goals. Now again, just so we're all on the same page, SMART is an acronym for the goal must be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. There's a lot going on there, but I promise if you take the time to set these goals, we here at Hubspot, your customer success manager, your channel consultant, your implementation specialist, will be able to assist you better in reaching those goals that you set. So let's take a look if we take SMART goal setting inbound style. The 3 goals every single one of us here today should have, and I mean every single one of the 26 of us here today, we should have a visits, leads, and customer goal. So if you're taking notes, certainly jot that down. We'll get to the time frame around that, but at all points in time, you want to have a visits goal you're tracking towards, a leads goal you're tracking towards, and a customer goal. I don't expect anybody to currently have those all, but I'd love to know in the chat pane. Share a 1 if you have one of these goals already set, a 2 if you have 2 goals, and a 3 if you currently have a goal for visits, leads, and customers. And please share that in the chat pane. And unsure or none, a 0 is totally just as acceptable. That's why we're all here today. All right, we see some coming in. Let's keep them rolling here. Okay, so some of us it looks like about 1 and 2 are tied for first place. 3 and 0 are about tied for second place. Okay, so let's keep rolling on. Some of us have some of these goals. We're going to take a second actually to build one of those out in a few minutes, but we need to make sure we have a couple other things. Lots of times we'll have a goal that we want maybe 10,000 visitors, but we haven't done the rest of the work for a SMART goal, which means probably we're going to miss that goal, or even if we hit it, not be exactly sure how to repeat achieving a similar goal in the future. So the next piece is measurable, providing a specific number. So not just saying we have a visits goal, we want more visitors, but we want a specific number more of visitors. This can be hard to do if you do not currently have data. So if you're sitting there saying to yourself, well, I know I need more visits, but I'm not sure how many is actually the right amount because I don't have any data from the past. Well, we'll address that with the next piece, which is making sure it's attainable. So we know we have a visits goal, which is going to be X number of visitors, X number of leads, X number of customers. But is that realistic? Is that actually possible to hit those numbers? And that's where we go to make sure it's attainable. So if you're here today and you have Google Analytics, even if you just purchased HubSpot, you'll be able to use that data to at least set a benchmark in terms of visits and potentially customers if you're using Google Analytics for that. For your leads, you may be able to get that data from your customer relationship management or CRM. Customers, certainly, you will know how many customers, or you should know how many customers your company has, how many donors your organization has, how many enrolled students your EDU has. That information should exist. But for those of us that say, you know, Chris, I don't really have any information. We're a new company, or we were never tracking anything online before. I have one little tip for you. This can always trick people up, so you definitely want to pay attention if you're in that bucket here today that's saying to yourself, we don't really have any data. I wish we could get some benchmark data. If you go to your dashboard, and this is the trickiest part of this whole little tip here that I'm going to go over, you want to click goals. You want to select that drop-down, and you'll see the last one in the drop-down is going to be goals. You want to click on goals. And when you select goals, so this month compared to goals, only then will you see this set goal link appear. And when you click that, it's actually going to take you, as you see this arrow shows us, over to a pop-up that's going to be overlaid over your dashboard. Now this is pretty cool. What you'll be able to see is data from HubSpot. We're looking at your last month. So if you're new, you might not see any data here. But then check this out. This is pretty cool. Here you'll see the top 25% of HubSpot customers are averaged out to be getting about 14,000 visits, 3.1% conversion rate, which is resulting in 452 contacts a month. 56 of those convert to customers, which is about 255 per month. When we now take a look and we go to the median, this is the average. This is where I'd recommend anybody who's just getting started to focus on. This is the average customer. 1,500 visits, just a little bit under 1% conversion rate. Again, conversion rate is how, for every 100 visitors that come to your website, how many of them become a customer. So in the example of the top 25%, 3 out of every 100 become a lead. The visit to conversion rate for the median is 0.93, so less than 1 out of every 100 become a lead. When we're looking at the contacts conversion rate, that's how many leads become customers. Here you'll see 56%, 7.1% for the median. So you can grab some data here, but at the end of the day, we definitely want to use our own data as we start gathering that month over month. But if you're new, great place to start is your set goals. Todd, you should see that option. You will have to select from the drop-down. You should see goals. If that's not showing up, try selecting a different drop-down from this month to date. But we should be able to see that. You do, again, have to make sure you select goals from your drop-down. Perfect. All right, awesome. So that was a little sidestep just to make sure we all have some data. The next is to make sure it's relevant. I know this sounds silly, but lots of times we could say, well, we just want to blow our visits or leads or customers' goals out of the water. But is it relevant? If you closed 100 more customers, would you actually be able to deliver a quality product or service? If you generated X amount of leads, do you have the salespeople to follow up? Do you have the process in place? Should you be spending all your time getting visitors if you don't have a good conversion process to convert those visitors to leads? All of these questions we must ask ourselves when it comes to the relevancy of the goal. The last piece is timely. What is the actual time frame? We have to know that time frame. If we say, oh, we want to increase our visits from 100 to 1,000 next week, no way. A year or two from now, that sounds reasonable. So we always want to make sure we have that time frame to tie everything back together. Now, as I mentioned, we always want to have a visit, leads, and customer goals at all times. You will find yourself setting additional SMART goals. Some of us here probably today have goals for social media, whether that's people clicking on your links, going back to your website, engagement. Maybe we have email goals around our open rates or our click rates. You can certainly set and should set many more SMART goals than the 3 we're talking about today. But to even have a baseline that we can communicate across your organization, but certainly to your implementation specialist or your customer success manager or your channel consultant, is all about making sure we have these SMART goals for visits, leads, and customers. Everything cascades from there. And Josh, at this point in time, you cannot see more than the previous month for benchmark data. For your own data, you certainly can do that by going to the sources tool. So reports and then sources. Okay, now the fun part. Actually building out a SMART goal. So you'll see here a template, increase what? Well, either you're going to increase visits, you're going to increase leads, or you're going to increase customers. By, the first thing you want to do is the percentage. By X percent. Starting at Y, ending at Z. And then by what date. So we want to make it very clear. I want to increase my visits by X percent from number Y to number Z by a date. Let's take a look at a real, actual example. Increase visits by 20% from 5,000 per month to 6,000 per month by June 30th, 2015. So we have plenty of time budgeted today, and what I'd love for us all to do is take the next 5 minutes. It's 3:22, we'll go to 3:27 to actually build out and write a SMART goal. So I'll be quiet for the next 5 minutes. If you do have questions, please let me know. If you finish one of your SMART goals and share it in the chat pane, please share another one. But again, our goal over the next 5 minutes is to use the example, and I can actually go back to the example, which might be a little bit more helpful. I'll highlight what you would change from that. You can change your visits. You're going to change your percentage number. You're going to change your number here, and you're going to change the date. But take some time to actually write one of these SMART goals. Again, you're going to want to send these to your consultants or your implementation specialists or your customer success managers. So I'll be quiet here as we're all working, but my eyes are on the chat pane. All right, we have some good SMART goals coming in. Again, if you are somebody who has submitted your SMART goal, please do start working your second one. We still have about 3 minutes to go. All right, let's take a look at some of these that are coming in for those of us that have submitted. Look over some others that have been written and shared in the chat pane. If you joined another company and you saw these SMART goals, would they be something that would make sense to you? If anybody of you are coming to Inbound 15, our conference this year, which I'm sure some of you here probably are, if I run into you, I'm totally going to ask, what are your visits, leads, and customer SMART goals? Or if I run over to your CSM or your IS, they should be able to tell me. The more visibility you can provide into your goals, the more resources we can focus on. Awesome. Kathy said she wouldn't miss it. Wonderful, Kathy. Well, I'll keep my eye out for you for sure. We are at 3:27, so let's take a second now to actually go through some of these examples. I see here Brad says increase organic visits by 20% by July 1st. Wonderful, Brad. All we need to do there is just to, and again, you might have just done this quickly, let's add in when you're actually building that out and sharing it with your team member here at HubSpot or the partner you're working with. Do make sure you actually put in the actual numbers themselves. Kathy has increased visits by 20% from 3,500 to 4,375 by 8/1. Very nice SMART goal for visits, Kathy. That's ready to be in the hands of the IS or the CSM or the CC here at HubSpot as soon as possible. Kristen, also great one here, increasing leads by 300% from 25 to 75 by December 31st. Then we have some interesting one. Megan shares increased average email open rate by 10% by September 1st, 2015. So Megan, I love that goal. It's a good goal. You're focusing on open rates. A couple things I recommend. One, think about click rates. Lots of times the engagement of the email is more important than the fact it was open. Another thing to think about for you as well as Brad, another great goal, increase landing page conversion rate by 40% by July 1st. You have these good goals. The tricky part is those two goals alone are not going to necessarily do anything. But if we tie that goal back to a visits, leads, or customer goal, we can then look and say, well, if we increase the landing page conversion rate by 40%, what's the net effect on number of leads? That's what we care about. Because if you're only getting 100 visitors to your website and you increase your conversion rate from 20% to 60%, the net difference is really only 4 more leads per month. So take some time to look at, if you were to increase landing page conversion rates by 40%, what's the actual output of the leads generated? For those of you that have continued to share, things are looking good here. Increased visits by 20% by July 2015, says Eileen. Beautiful, just add in those exact numbers. Morgan, increased visits by 50%. Carrie Jo, increased training website conversions by 10% over the next 3 months. Again, Carrie, huge fan of increasing conversion rates. It's a great way to improve your marketing. Make sure you understand what are those implications of increasing that conversion rate for your visits, your leads, and your customers. All right, so we're going to move on now. Again, make sure you do have those 3 goals at all times, and then start building out some of those great goals as Morgan and other people shared in the chat pane. You will see on the resource page that I send you a link to, there is step 5 is to make sure that you set up those SMART goals. Now we're going to get into the inbound fundamentals. This is a fun little challenge I like to run every time that I host this class, and that is there are 4 core pieces to the inbound fundamentals. What I'd love us to do is, as a team right now, all 28 of us here today on the call, I'd like to see if we can together come up with the 4 core pieces of the inbound fundamentals that nearly every company does that sees success. We're going to act as though the wrong answers don't exist, so just keep on guessing. Again, the chat pane is not recorded, but together we want to see, can we come up with those 4 core pieces to the inbound fundamentals? All right, Todd and Cameron say attract, convert, close, and delight. That is one piece. Specifically, what do we call the attract, convert, close, and delight? What is that? What do those 4 things? The methodology, exactly. The inbound methodology. That is one of the 4 fundamentals. I'd love to see some more guesses here in the chat pane. Oh, the buyer's journey, bingo. That's 2 out of 4. So the inbound methodology, understanding how the buyer goes through on their path to purchase. Personas, bingo. And content, says Kristen. So close, Kristen. It does start with the C. Campaign, says Kathy. Bingo. Absolutely. Those are our 4. You'll see them here on the screen. Definitely, if you are a note taker or somebody who's looking to execute on the knowledge you're learning today, inbound methodology all the time, buyer persona, buyer's journey, and then taking it and pulling it all together to execute a campaign with, of course, as Kristen points out, content. Content is definitely at the core of everything that we do. So let's talk about the inbound methodology, and let's have a little fun here. I'd love to know, if we were all to estimate, how many times have you seen this image in your lifetime? 0, 1, 10, 15, if you had to estimate. All right, we have 10, then we have a million, then we have 4, 10, 10 to 15, 25 times in the last 3 months, says Todd. Zach says oodles. David says 50 to 100. Cameron's really specific here, 136. Awesome. Bellman 10. Josh thousands. Lindsay many, can't even count. Nick 50. If you were to close your eyes or you were to wake up tomorrow morning, would you be able to write down this methodology? Would you be able to remember or be able to say, there are billions of people on the internet. Our goal is to attract the right visitors, to then convert those visitors to leads, close those leads into customers, and delight those customers so they become promoters of our business and in turn attract new strangers to our website. Why is that important? Well, you'll notice here that every single tool that we use is agnostic to HubSpot. There are forms tools out there that aren't HubSpots, that are blogs. There's other CRMs besides HubSpot. There's other emails tools. The point is that it doesn't matter what software you're using. In this day and age, this is how a marketer goes about getting a customer online. So we want to make sure every time we go to do something, we first ask ourselves, where in the methodology does it fit, and what tools am I going to use to accomplish that SMART goal that I set? Now, whether you get this as a tattoo or you print this out, whatever it may be, keep that in mind. Each and every time you start off doing something, you want to ask yourself, what stage in the methodology, what goal does this connect to, and what tools am I going to use to reach that goal? Any questions about the inbound methodology? Anything anybody would like to share about the methodology, please feel free to do so in the chat pane right now. Okay, it looks like we're good. If you're still typing, take time to finish up. I'll definitely pause. But in the meantime, we're going to move on to buyer personas. And my first question to all of us here today, have you built buyer personas? And if so, what are the names of the buyer personas that you've built? No is just as good of an answer as the name of your buyer personas. But we're just trying to get a feel for where we all are today. All right, Carrie, not yet. Perfect. Well, we're going to go into it a little bit. Today, Todd has Bob the Builder, Randy Retail. Eileen is Procrastinating Paul. We have COO, CEO. We have Visionary HR Department Manager, Influencer. Brad has Small to Medium Business Owner and HubSpot User. Kathy has CFO, CTO, Controllers, Operations President, and then Not the Decision Maker. Kristen has nonprofit. Natasha, love it. And private, Pedro. All right, so for those of us that might not have built personas or might be wondering to ourselves, what are all these alliterations? Heidi the homeowner, Carl the contractor, DIT Dan, DIY Dan. These are all the names that we make for our personas. Mother blogger Molly has Josh. So why is this so important? Well, a persona is going to do a lot for us. When you take the time to develop a persona, it is going to force you to be a better marketer. And that's because everything you do moving forward, you'll be asking yourself, how does this relate to the personas that I've built? Your marketing will be dictated by those personas, as they should be. And what do I mean by everything? Well, your keyword strategy. When you write a blog post, what's the tone of that blog post? A CEO versus a Mother Mary or a Mother Blogger Mary are going to absolutely want to read content that sounds different. Your offers, your CTAs, are they pink, are they blue, are they purple, are they orange, are they big text, are they small text, are they cursive? All of those things come into play. Your landing page, your thank you page, the emails you send, this how you launch a new service or product is all going to be based off of those personas. Why is that? Well, it's because every single one of those marketing activities is going to tie back to the marketing that you're doing. So for those of us that are saying, okay, Chris, yes, but what is a buyer persona? A very simple definition. Buyer personas are the semi-fictional characters that marketers create by doing research. Typically, they represent your ideal customer, and again, they're going to help you refine your marketing activities over time. Okay, that sounds well and good, but what happens if I just start writing because I know what's going on, I start creating content, I start building landing pages, I just start doing everything because I just want to get going. Well, here's an example of a HubSpot customer. You should be able to see it on the screen. This is their organic traffic, organic visitors. They had a goal, although I do have to admit I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was to start blogging and increase organic traffic. Looks pretty good until the big drop-off. Now, there's many reasons why that drop-off may have happened, but in this case it happened because they were a sales training company, and they wrote their blog posts for the wrong persona. They wrote their blog posts for the sales rep. Turns out sales reps are not the decision makers. Sales reps are the ones that are not typically going to their sales manager and saying, can you take me off the floor for a week? I'd rather not get commission. I'd rather learn how to be a better sales rep to get more commission in the future. Well, that might sound like the right thing to do. That typically does not happen. Furthermore, they were getting visits, but those visits were not converting to leads. And when they did convert to leads, the leads were not converting to customers because they were the wrong persona. So when we think about developing our personas, we're not only going to just focus on and think about, oh, well, we're just going to create these personas to help us with our marketing. It's going to help us close more visits, leads, and customers. Because even if marketing can attract visitors and convert them to leads, if we start passing off leads to the sales team, if we have a sales team, and those leads aren't worth selling, we're wasting everybody's time. Now let's talk about how personas will align your organization. This might sound crazy, but it's not. Here at HubSpot, if somebody walks down the aisle and comes to me or walks into our room and says, hey, Chris, I have this marketing Mary I'd like you to talk to. Instantly, my brain starts going in a completely different way than if somebody says, hey, Chris, I have this owner, Ollie, I'd love for you to hop on the phone with for 30 minutes to chat with. Why is that? Well, let me share a little bit of our persona story. Everybody within your organization should be able to do this. Owner Ollie owns a small business. He or she is responsible for holding or keeping the lights on, for delivering the product or service, for creating that product or service, for selling that product or service, for marketing that product or service, for paying the bills. If owner Ollie decides not to buy HubSpot, owner Ollie could potentially use that money for a vacation, for retirement, for their child's fund for college. There's lots of ways in which that money could be spent. If we tell owner Ali, do X, and the result will be Y, owner Ali will ask if they can do 2 times X. Will the result be 2 times Y? Now, Marketing Mary, also buying the same exact software as owner Ali, typically is a marketer whose full-time job is marketing. Marketing Mary doesn't just want to know if he or she does something, what the result will be, but why will that be the result? Because Marketing Mary is focused on not just doing marketing, but becoming a great marketer, learning how to improve his or her marketing over time. If Marketing Mary buys HubSpot, that's not money out of his or her pocket. That doesn't mean one less vacation. So how we think about Marketing Mary and Marketing Mary's time. I could spend an hour mapping out something for Marketing Mary to do that's going to take 100 hours over the next few months. Owner Ali doesn't have that time. So my conversation, how a salesperson has a conversation, how a support person has a conversation, how our development team who builds our software talks to customers is different. So I just shared those quick stories. I'd love for everybody now to share in the chat pane. Do you connect with more Owner Ali or Marketing Mary? If you were to say, which persona would you fall into? All right, we have Kristen as Mary, Morgan, Rachel, Barry, Mary, Todd, Owner Ali. A little bit of both says Nick. Lindsay asked a good question. If we're B2B, do we make our personas by industry or position in the company? Really great question. I'm going to throw that back out to the group. For those of you that have built personas, would you say if you're a B2B company, do you make your personas industry specific or by position? Lindsay says she's a Mary working for her dad, Ollie. Love it. All right, Kristen started with industry, planning to do position later. Build content for both, says Brad. Absolutely. And how do you figure that out? Well, for those of you that are wondering or still are hoping to learn a little bit more about buyer personas, we do have, again, the training, the video training on how to build your buyer personas. Then you'll also see there is a next step to review your buyer personas. Every single week, Lindsay Tebow, our content guru here at HubSpot, holds a live lab in which you and other constituents, other inbound marketers can sign on and take some time to review best practices of personas and then actually take time to share feedback, advice with each other on how to improve your buyer personas. There's a lot more magic that happens in those live labs. I have to ask in the chat pane, has anybody had a chance to go to a live lab? For those of you that are new, probably not, but maybe. All right, Rachel. Oh, wow. Rachel has, Brad has, Kristen has. Wonderful. Take advantage of those live labs. Those live labs are for you, the customer. We hold them. Use that time and then take advantage of that whenever you can. Okay, awesome. Now we're going to go to the buyer's journey. And I have another question. This one I will wait a couple seconds before I move on, because I'd love to know in the chat pane a yes or no, who here is currently using the buyer's journey to make decisions on the content they create and how they market. If you are, yes. If you're not, no. A me works. An I wish works. Kinda can. I'll take a kinda, David. Kinda, sorta. All acceptable answers. Getting there, says Cameron. Nick is. All right. Well, we're going to spend no more than 3 minutes talking about that today. Then we'll discuss the training that is available. I really like to harp on this one thing because the buyer's journey is very easily confused. I myself was completely confused when I started using HubSpot a few years ago because I had my marketing glasses on. Every day I wake up and I think about attract, convert, close, and delight. That's how we as marketers get new customers with inbound marketing online. But we can't lose sight of the fact that the other side of that conversion rate, on the other side of that 10,000th and one visitor, is a human being. And that person, when they go through their path to purchase, is not thinking about you the entire time. So when we see awareness stage, we as marketers are going to think, oh, they became aware of our product or service. That is incorrect. They become aware of a problem. In the consideration stage, they're considering different ways to solve the same problem. In the decision stage, they're deciding on a specific solution. Now, nearly all companies, as we start off with inbound marketing, are very strong on the decision stage. But where we don't focus is at consideration stage and awareness stage. And not surprisingly, most people coming to our website aren't in the decision stage. So we as marketers need to make sure we create content in the awareness and consideration stage to attract people that we can then convert, start having a conversation with, so when they go to make a decision, we are still top of mind. I'll give one quick example for those of us that might still be scratching our heads and want to be convinced a little bit more before spending the 30 minutes for the training video. I'm going to use an example of a car. I wake up in the morning ready to go to work, going to get in my car doesn't start. I'm aware of a problem. I need to get to work and I don't know how I'm going to get there. I call a taxi, they pick me up, they drive me to work. Okay, problem solved in the short term. But the long term, I'm still aware of this problem. My car's not working. So I might start going to do some research. Why doesn't my car start? What are the reasons? And I find out, you know what? My car's not starting because the transmission blew. Well, now I need to start considering what to do. Do I fix the transmission? Do I buy a new transmission? Do I scrap the car and start taking public transportation to work? Do I scrap the car and get a bike and start biking to work? Do I jog to work? Do I buy a new car? Do I buy a motorcycle? All the different ways to solve the same problem, which is me being able to get to work every day. That's the consideration stage. Think about your organization. Think about your company. What are different ways to solve the same